The 5 Most Powerful Ideals of Charlie Kirk. Introduction. Ideas as the real capital. When most people hear the words finance or economic history, their minds jump to charts, numbers, and balance sheets. We imagine stock tickers racing across a screen or economists debating interest rates on television. But if you peel back the layers of every major economic story, you'll find something more powerful than numbers: ideas. Ideas are the true capital that drives societies forward. They are like the original seed investments, the sparks that fuel revolutions, birth new markets, and inspire entire generations to take risks that reshape history. The Industrial Revolution wasn't just about machines. It was about the idea that progress was possible at unprecedented speed. The American dream isn't measured only in GDP. It's an idea that opportunity can transform anyone's life. And just like a startup that begins small but scales globally because of vision and determination, individuals can leave behind a legacy that continues to yield returns long after they're gone. That's the story of Charlie Kirk. Though he is no longer physically with us, his influence lives on. A kind of human capital that continues to inspire and transform lives. His words and his actions remain like assets that generate dividends far into the future. What makes Kirk's story especially relevant to us here on a channel about economics is that his legacy can be understood through the lens of investment and return. His 5 most powerful ideals are not just political or cultural. They are investments into the kind of principles that outlast short-term volatility. In this video, we will explore those 5 ideals: freedom, investing in the next generation; simplicity of communication; moral foundations; and leadership through cooperation. Each of these can be seen as a kind of portfolio, one that continues to grow in value because it is rooted in truth, courage, and conviction. So let's dive in. Ideal 1. Freedom is never free. Economists often say there's no such thing as a free lunch. Every decision has opportunity costs, every gain requires sacrifice, and every freedom carries with it responsibility. Charlie Kirk understood this better than most. He consistently reminded audiences, especially young ones, that liberty is not a permanent guarantee. Like an asset that erodes if not maintained, freedom must be defended and renewed by every generation. If one generation ignores it, the next will pay the price, just as an investor who neglects his portfolio eventually sees its value disappear. Historical and economic parallels. History gives us countless examples. Think about the collapse of the Roman Empire, where complacency and overexpansion drained resources and weakened civic spirit. Or take Weimar Germany in the 1920s, an era when economic mismanagement and cultural disintegration paved the way for authoritarianism. In both cases, freedom eroded not overnight, but because people failed to actively defend the principles that sustained it. The same applies to markets. When discipline disappears, bubbles form. When accountability vanishes, crises erupt. Just as the 2008 financial crisis was fueled by neglecting sound lending principles, societies risk collapse when they forget that liberty requires vigilance. Kirk's message on freedom. Charlie Kirk hammered this truth home at every opportunity. He warned that freedom wasn't inherited like a family heirloom you could lock away in a safe. It was more like a business that had to be managed daily with effort, sacrifice, and courage. He told students that freedom is the most valuable asset they will ever hold, and that if they don't defend it, they will lose it. To Kirk, liberty was the compounding interest of civilization, something that grows only if reinvested, something that disappears if taken for granted. And this is where his economic mindset and cultural message intersect perfectly. Freedom is capital. If you preserve it, nurture it, and pass it forward, it generates prosperity. If you neglect it, the entire economy, moral and financial, collapses. Ideal 2. The next generation is the greatest investment. Any serious investor knows the best opportunities are often long-term. You don't put all your money into what's hot today. You plant seeds in what will grow tomorrow. Charlie Kirk understood this principle and applied it not to stocks or bonds, but to people, specifically young people. Youth as human capital. In economics, we talk about human capital, the skills, knowledge, and energy people bring to the economy. Nations with strong human capital thrive, while those that ignore education or suppress opportunity stagnate. Charlie saw America's youth not as a lost cause, but as undervalued assets. While many leaders dismissed students as apathetic, distracted, or cynical, he believed that each classroom was filled with potential CEOs, senators, inventors, and thought leaders. He often said that one student with courage could shift the trajectory of an entire campus, just as one visionary entrepreneur can disrupt an entire industry. Turning Point USA as a case study. This is why he invested so much of his time in universities through Turning Point USA. He walked into hostile territory, faced protests, endured harsh criticism, but he never backed down. Because he believed the ROI, return on investment, of reaching young people was greater than any short-term pain. Turning Point USA became more than a student movement. It was a portfolio of leaders in training, and the results speak for themselves. Countless students inspired to run for office, to challenge cultural norms, to engage in debates they would have otherwise avoided. Economic analogy. Think of it like emerging markets. At first glance, they look risky, unstable, uncertain, and volatile. But those who have the courage to invest early, with patience and persistence, often see extraordinary returns. Charlie Kirk saw America's young people the same way. High risk? Sure. But also high reward. And he believed the future depended on making that bet. Ideal 3. Simplicity creates impact. In the world of finance, some of the greatest investors are known not for complexity, but for clarity. Warren Buffett famously says he only invests in businesses he can understand. Henry Ford transformed manufacturing not with 1,000 innovations, but with one simple breakthrough, the assembly line. Apple built an empire not on overwhelming complexity, but on simplicity of design. Charlie Kirk applied that same principle to communication. The power of simple messaging. In a digital world dominated by algorithms that favor quick, shallow content, Kirk mastered the art of simplicity. He took complex cultural and political ideas and distilled them into short, memorable, shareable statements. His goal wasn't to dumb things down, it was to make them accessible. The economic analogy is straightforward. Businesses that can explain their value proposition in a sentence rarely survive. Similarly, movements that can't communicate clearly rarely grow. Charlie knew that for an idea to spread like wildfire, it had to be packaged in a way people could grasp instantly and share widely. Why it worked. This was why his social media presence grew so rapidly. He turned principles into punchlines, values into viral content. And while critics accused him of oversimplification, his influence proved otherwise. He understood a core law of markets and of communication. Attention is scarce. To capture it, you must be clear, direct, and unforgettable. Ideal 4. Faith and morality are the foundation of prosperity. Economies aren't built only on capital and labor. They're built on trust. Without trust, contracts don't hold, markets don't function, and prosperity collapses. That trust is sustained by shared values and moral foundations. Charlie Kirk often reminded audiences that no society can thrive without a moral compass. Faith and values, he argued, aren't optional. They are the bedrock of long-term prosperity. Historical and economic examples. Consider the Protestant work ethic, often credited with fueling the rise of capitalism in Western nations. Or look at nations where corruption corrodes institutions. Economic growth becomes impossible when morality breaks down. The collapse of certain empires wasn't just about military defeat. It was about moral decay that ate away at trust, unity, and discipline. Kirk's conviction. Charlie consistently emphasized that without faith, without moral clarity, the pursuit of prosperity was empty. He challenged people to align their beliefs with their actions, to live consistently, to connect their spiritual life with their public life. He saw prosperity not as an abundance of wealth alone, but as the fruit of coherence, when what a society preaches lines up with how it acts. To him, faith and morality were like the underlying assets of an economy. Lose them, and the entire system eventually crashes. Ideal 5, leadership means building bridges, not walls. The global economy thrives on trade, partnerships, and cooperation. Markets expand when barriers fall, and people work together. Charlie Kirk applied this same principle to leadership. Cooperation over isolation. While he was known for bold and uncompromising stands, he also knew he couldn't achieve his vision alone. He sought alliances, built networks, and worked with other leaders. He understood that influence multiplies when voices are united. Leadership, in his view, wasn't about dominating every conversation, but about listening, learning, and amplifying the strengths of others. He didn't see leadership as a solo act, but as a portfolio strategy, diverse, resilient, and more impactful together than apart. Economic parallel. Think of supply chains. No single company builds a smartphone from scratch. It takes cooperation across nations, industries, and innovators. Similarly, no leader can build a movement alone. Charlie knew that to create lasting change, he had to be both bold in principle and humble enough to collaborate. Conclusion. Legacy as the ultimate asset. When we tie all of these together, freedom, youth, simplicity, morality, and cooperation, we see a portfolio of ideals that outlast any single person's lifetime. Charlie Kirk's journey wasn't without criticism or controversy, but that only reinforced the weight of his message, as he believed if no one disagrees with you, maybe you're not saying anything meaningful. His story is a reminder that the time we have is limited, but the legacy we leave can echo for generations. Like capital invested wisely, the impact compounds. Like an economy rooted in strong fundamentals, the returns grow stronger over time. Charlie may be gone, but his 5 ideals remain an open invitation. Defend freedom, invest in the next generation, communicate with clarity, build on faith and morality, lead by uniting others. These are not just political lessons, they are economic truths, they are life principles, and they are the kind of assets worth holding forever.